How do you feel the protests have progressed since you did that speech?
Well, I mean, the protest period should always be progressing. We should never get comfortable that our liberties exist without protest. Atlanta is the city it is because of people like John Wesley Dobbs, who was an unofficial black mayor of Atlanta, and after riots in Atlanta, made sure that deals were brokered that blacks could have a section and grow an economy like the Auburn Edgewood Avenue. So I'm not against protest at all, and actually encourage us to always push government to be better. I think Atlanta handles protest well. I think that the policemen that attacked two kids that were going home, they've been fired and are going to be charged. I think that was what a mayor should do. This is not the first time. Atlanta had been doing that before. I think that our mayor spoke from a place of a concerned black mother from the West Side. She's from the same neighborhood as T.I. And I heard her backstage telling them to hold police or anyone going in because she wanted an opportunity to try to get people to go home. And that's a concerned black woman. That's bigger and badder than a politician. That's your mother and your auntie. And I appreciated her in that moment, letting the veneer of politician down and simply being, an angry black woman that didn't want to see people get hurt. And I respect her. And I actually think she definitely is going to be on the national political stage. And all the talk about black women VPs, I think she's as fit as any other candidate.
Obviously, his name is Vic Fangio. What do you think about his comments?
I think, I just like to say I've known many people that have played in the NFL, including my best friend from kindergarten, Robert Hicks, who was a Buffalo Bill, Stanley Pritchard, whose mother taught us, who was a former Dolphin. I'd like to say that, I've heard more times than not from NFL players, and not in particular those two, but just your rooms, you hearing, they refer to the NFL as a plantation. So I'd like to challenge Mr. Fangio to have some open and honest dialogue with players that don't look like him about what it really feels like to wear that helmet and to know that there's certain things you can't say because your owner may not agree or hold a political thought. And I'd also like to give him the challenge of going on YouTube and looking at 1 hour of Jane Elliott and her blue and brown eye experiment, because a lot of times white people think everything is okay because they're ignorant and don't know better. And I don't mean ignorant as a derogatory term. In our ignorance, we may not know how things are being skewed. But once you know, you can't unsee. So I'd like to give Coach that homework. He should take a page out of the Jane Elliott playbook and try to get more depth and knowledge on that. And I challenge him to talk to some of his players in private, alone, about what it really feels like to be a black player in a league where the coaches do not represent you in terms of what you look like. Many of the coordinators do not, and definitely the ownership does not. That is a very, very, very big building to look at and say that racism does not exist here. Racism exists in every corner of this country, Mrs. Fangio, and I challenge you to find it within your own square and within your own self and to rid ourselves of it finally, including you.